Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at Venus conjoining the North Node and Saturn for basically the rest of this month. That is a really unique thing to be happening in the sky right now because typically Venus moves very quickly and would conjoin Saturn or the North Node over a couple of days. But because Venus is turning direct right now and barely moving as it's changing directions, that conjunction takes place over the span of several weeks, which makes the evolutionary signature, you might say, the spiritual and psychological signature of this conjunction between Venus, North Node, and Saturn, a little extra significant. So we're going to take a look at this today. I'm going to give you 5 things to watch for. Before we get into it, remember, as always, to like and subscribe. Make this a place of your daily spiritual practice. If astrology is a part of your spiritual life, then consider this a part of that daily spiritual practice. We really appreciate it. It helps our channel and community to grow. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on our website, which is nightlightastrology.com. At the end of today's video, after I sign off, you're going to find an informational video about our upcoming Year 1 course, which is called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. Go to the courses page, click on the first year course. You can learn more about it there. Or again, after I sign off today, I'm going to tell you all about it. At the bottom of the page, you will find that we have an early bird sale that is available until May 15th. This will save you several $100s off the cost of the course. And also, as with all of our programs, we have need-based tuition. So if you'd like to come study with us in our Year 1 program, take a deep dive into ancient astrology, develop your spiritual practice with astrology, maybe even develop a counseling practice with astrology for other people, check this out. And the need-based tuition is there to make sure that we can work within your budget. If you are on a tight, limited, fixed income, we understand that we don't want people to spend outside of their means. So we have tuition assistance available to make sure that no one's priced out of studying a sacred subject. Please do take advantage of that. And if you can afford the normal rates, we just ask that you use those instead. And we've been working with that philosophy for many years at Nightlight successfully. We trust people to pay, if they can pay our asking price, please do so. Take advantage of the sales. And if you can't, use the need-based tuition. That's what it's there for. So anyway, again, after I sign off today, you can learn more about the program. I can't wait to study with a new group of you starting in late June. Of course, our horary program and our Year 2 program for people already enrolled in Year 1 is also starting in June. You'll hear me talk more about that between now and June as well. Okay, on that note, let's turn our attention to the real-time clock, and I am going to show you exactly why I think that this is worth talking about. We have Venus right now in a conjunction with Saturn. I need to open my Epic pen. Where'd my Epic pen go? Oh, there we go. Okay. You can see that Venus is in a conjunction with Saturn here in the sky. And as of the day that I'm, let's move this forward to next Wednesday. Here we go. April 16th, Venus has turned direct. We recently talked about that on the channel. Take this forward a day. Venus is with the North Node. Another day, Venus is still with the North Node. With the North Node, see how it's moving so slowly after turning direct that Venus spends a very long time with the North Node of the moon. And that really is significant. That does not happen all the time, that you get such a deep focus between Venus and the North Node. It's as though Venus has some, you think about it within the language of evolutionary astrology, Venus has an evolutionary lesson that is coming through right now. The North Node is often about the direction of our unexplored or unresolved desires, the direction that we need to go in somehow and explore in life for the sake of spiritual growth and evolution. I don't have a problem with that particular angle. However, the ancient angle on the North Node is also important, which is to say that the North Node will greatly amplify or augment Venus's significations. In the case of a benefic, that's a pretty good thing. However, Venus is conjoining with Saturn, so a little bit of that melancholic quality that might also be amplified. We're looking at that. I think it's also important to recognize that in Indian astrology, North Node, called Rahu, can be problematic in terms of the intensity of desire that is generated around something like Venus and the North Node. The lust, desire, hunger, materialism can become somewhat problematic with Venus and the North Node. But all of this could also be easily camped within the idea that the North Node is bringing us in the direction of new evolutionary impulses that we have to go and explore. Even if those impulses involve shadows that will come up, this is a new terrain with the North Node in Pisces somewhat recently, and this encounter with Venus is a meaningful one at the early stages of the North Node's transit through the sign of Pisces. Now, if we take this forward a little bit further, we're going to see that Venus doesn't get into the conjunction with Saturn, although it's still just a degree off from the North Node, for a little while. Here it is on April 24th, and then it's just separating by April 25th. It's about a degree off on April 27th until it enters Aries right around April 30th, and it is about a little bit under 3 degrees away from Saturn. There really is this lingering sort of triple conjunction between North Node, Saturn, and Venus. So when you look at it from that perspective, we are really talking, as we sit here on Wednesday, April 16th, about 2 full weeks of working with Venus, North Node, and Saturn. Now, again, I think that that offers us a unique opportunity to understand some of what this new North Node in Pisces season is all about. Wherever that lands in the whole sign house of your birth chart, that area of Pisces, it's as though there are new opportunities and new developments taking place. But with the conjunction to Saturn, we might also say that there are, some new problems that we also have to look at. What those problems are, I will try to cover in our 5 things to watch for today, because I think there's some ways we can anticipate what the issues might be, as well as the promise. So let's get into it. These are 5 things to watch for in no particular order. But here's the thing, is that if we take into consideration that Venus in the North Node augments or amplifies our desires, or from an evolutionary standpoint, we think about it as amplifying our sense of what we want, need, or desire for the sake of evolutionary growth, like a new territory or a new domain that we're wanting to explore or go in the direction of, sort of an EA perspective, then with Saturn so closely configured, I think one way of understanding the evolutionary impulse of this conjunction between Venus and the North Node is to understand it in terms of dissatisfaction. When dissatisfaction with someone or something, some part of ourselves, some pattern within our own psyches, some aspect of our work or relationships, or some aspect of finances or creativity, any element of our life, sexuality, friendships, when we have a triple conjunction like this, Saturn, North Node, and Venus, I think that we may become increasingly aware of our dissatisfactions. I am not satisfied with this. This is really bothering me. And it is that sense of the fly in the ointment that is going to drive the choices that we make right now that feel like they are necessary for us to evolve and move forward in the way that we want to. Yes, I have to do this, but it's being driven by some level of dissatisfaction that's peaking. So that's a way of thinking about the evolutionary necessity of Venus with the North Node along with Saturn. A number 2 would be sort of similar, but this is flipping it in the opposite direction. So if we're feeling a level of angst, there are periods of time where our work gets boring. If you are learning something and developing your skills, you might reach a plateau. If you're in a relationship with someone, there are periods of time that are less exciting than others. Does this sound familiar? There's boredom, right? There's things are sometimes just ordinary, predictable, routine, mundane. You feel not really so inspired, and then you start feeling angsty. And that in turn can create unhealthy desires. So I think about, Venus-Saturn contacts or Venus-Uranus contacts in natal chart transits. When transiting Saturn or Uranus is hitting someone's natal Venus, they might start feeling really dead inside with one particular aspect of their life. Maybe it's their health, maybe it's their job, maybe it's their marriage, whatever. And instead of working through that patiently, carefully, thoughtfully, deliberately, consciously, in other words, someone will just run for a quick fix. And that's maybe the temptation here with the Rahu element of the North Node, if we consider that from the Indian astrological perspective, where unhealthy desire and impulsive, lusty kind of qualities from Venus and the North Node are coming about because we're bored or not totally satisfied. Boredom and periods of life that are not super satisfying are sometimes, I see them as tests. Sometimes that boredom is a real indicator. Dissatisfaction is driving change. Okay, fair. Other times, we need to learn to live and accept the limitations of the world. How many times have I seen Saturn to Venus transits where, let's say someone in their late 20s is having to deal with the fact that they're going to have to get a job. They're going to have to be committed to doing things that they don't like in order to earn a living and facilitate things that they do want. Um, that's a very common, like, Saturn Venus kind of transit. Oh, I can't have as much fun because I have to be responsible. I have to. So the angst, if it's driving us to do impulsive things because we can't manage some level of reality that's presenting itself, could be a problematic way of reading this. And that could be sort of amplified over the next couple of weeks. Play with that. See, there's a light and dark. 3, endings that are an evolutionary necessity. Now, I talked about this when I talked about a love passing away in the Velveteen Rabbit in another recent video on Venus and Saturn, as Venus was going through the retrograde conjunction with Saturn. Let me just reiterate the total point of that video, which is to say that sometimes Venus and Saturn bring about endings, expiration, usually around love or relationships or friendships or human relational dynamics, but also sometimes around desires. Like Venus Saturn is very common when people get sober. I have reached an end with the I'm no longer I can't derive pleasure anymore from drinking alcohol because it's killing me. It's harming my body. It's harming my mind. It's a habit I don't want anymore. So it can be very simple. Like Venus Saturn is any kind of ending that could be really healthy and positive. And maybe you're excited to have reached this mature realization. This has to be done. This thing that I've derived pleasure from is not pleasurable anymore. It's over. Or a relationship is ending. And there's a feeling with North Node and Saturn involved that this is necessary. This has to happen for me to move forward. So watch for that signature a little bit, but be careful because sometimes it'll cloak itself in doing something really impulsive and actually destructive with that Rahu quality and an exalted Venus too. So, just being mindful of all of these things. Moderation is an evolutionary lesson. Venus and Saturn is really good when they come together at tempering the desire body. So is it bad to, like in bodybuilding, it's like, I have a cheat meal once a week. That cheat meal once a week has been refined from, oh, it's a cheat meal. Great. I'll eat a whole pizza or something, to, oh, it's a cheat meal. I'll have 3 pieces of pizza. You know what I mean? Or like, I'm going to have some dessert, but I'm not going to go totally overboard. I think finding that middle ground is a very Venus-Saturn dynamic when it comes to pleasure and desire. And that can be one of the best things ever. It's like, how do I acknowledge and honor the desire body, sensuality, pleasure, enjoyment of life, while also not getting lost in it? And Venus-Saturn can modulate that somehow. And that might be the evolutionary lesson that's needed right now. And then 5 is just a way of summarizing everything, which is to say that this is a kind of via negativa. By that, I mean, not this, not that. It's not going to, Venus Saturn comes together and just makes it very clear that the path forward is really about recognizing that something has reached its limit, that something is over, that something, you can't go on doing something the same old way any longer. So when the yes comes through the no, that's maybe the broadest way that we could describe what happens here. That might be feedback within a relationship that doesn't mean the relationship is over, but there is something that you're getting clear about. This doesn't work. This aspect of the relationship is not going to work. Or a parenting strategy. This part of parenting isn't going to work. And getting clear about that will, at the very least, start to clear the path forward for something new. So a really unique portal that we're in for, the next couple of weeks to have these planets so closely together. Now, that could also mean that the drama is heightened. Remember, during this period, we've got Mars-Pluto. That Mars-Pluto at the same time that Venus and Saturn are together could mean that there's a little bit more explosiveness, which is why I think it's important to look at these things and sort of parse them out and sort of bracket them off and say, okay, look, this is an intense thing to be dealing with. Remember that it's happening as Mars opposes Pluto, which is another kind of evolutionary necessity that can be a lot more like a boiling pot of water. So put those two things together and you can see the need for discernment, care, really taking care of ourselves and our spiritual practices, whatever those may be, or our practices of self-care, physically, mentally, emotionally. It is a very important passage within 2025's astrology, more than most. There's a couple, right? But this is a big one. So I think the idea that I had behind this one was to sort of bracket off the Venus Saturn North Node dynamic within the within the Mars Pluto. So I hope this is useful, and stick around. I'm going to sign off now, and then you're going to see a little addendum where there's a video where I take you into the course. I'll show you the course website so you can see like what the interactive experience is like as a user of our classroom portal, and everything else like that. So yeah, I hope to see some of you in class soon. Studying astrology in a year like this with all of the major outer planets changing signs, really significant. You're going to see astrology at work so powerfully, and that often makes it a very effective time to learn astrology. It just becomes a little bit easier when you're seeing the astrology kind of like fireworks all around you in a year like this, to be learning the technical language at a deeper level. It's kind of ideal. So anyway, that's my pitch for you, and you'll hear more next. All right, we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is our first-year course in Hellenistic astrology that begins at the end of June. June 22nd is our starting date. I'm going to take you over to the course page to tell you more about the program and what you will learn while you are in it. So here we go over to the Nightlight Astrology website. You can find this at nightlightastrology.com. Click on the courses tab, go to the first year course. Now this program is ideal for people who maybe have a little bit of background already in astrology. Maybe you've done some studying on your own independently, taken some courses or webinars and workshops, but you're looking to deepen your understanding of astrology. And maybe Hellenistic astrology in particular has been calling to you. I'll tell you more about what Hellenistic astrology is in a minute, but on the first year course page, you're going to find everything that the course includes. I want to make the structure of the course clear first, and then at the end, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons that I think anyone might have for studying astrology, and you can see if you check any of those boxes. First of all, there are 30 classes on the year. It's just a little under a year-long program with 30 webinars. Every webinar is 2 to 3 hours long, including a lively Q&A and conversational section after we finished our lesson for the day. Each of those lessons I lead personally through live webinars, so you can attend those live. If you want to follow along at your own pace in your own time on your own schedule, you can always look at the recordings and take those in. And I'm going to show you what the class page looks like so you can see how you can interact with the course as uniquely and creatively as you want to. But you can either attend the live webinars or listen to the recordings or audio or video. In between major units of study within those 30 classes, we have separate classes outside of the 30 classes that are essentially tutoring sessions led by our staff, our course directors. We have 3 of them for our first year program, 3 tutors that help me guide every single class you're in and lead study sessions, and are also staffing an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions, look at charts, practice what you're learning with all of your classmates and with tutors there to help you. They'll always answer questions within a business day. So it's a really well-staffed, well-structured program. In between those major units of study and the breakout sessions, we also have guest speakers that come in throughout the year that you get free access to. The recordings are archived for you in your class folders. So you're getting people within our curriculum. You're also getting to visit with some astrologers who are outside of the Nightlight School, but we really admire their work, and so we bring them in. You also have a ton of bonus material. With every lesson, we have recommended quizzes, study guides, optional reading. And that allows people who are really, really, intense, deep, like studious types to go as far as you want to with the material, while other people who are maybe, content to take things in at, just kind of taking in the classes, that's there for you too. So you can kind of go as deeply as you want to. The class, as the year goes on, goes through major units of study in ancient Hellenistic astrology. So if you're not familiar with ancient Hellenistic astrology, this is the earliest form of horoscopic astrology. This is where the astrology that you've probably learned today comes from originally. And that makes some of its features unique. Like, for example, ancient astrologers utilized whole sign houses. We study why they used whole sign houses, how they used them, and we study uh, uh, the why behind really everything: houses, signs, planets, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, uh, delineation approaches. How do you read and predict within a natal chart? All of those theoretical areas of astrology, we not only learn how to do, but we learn the why behind it. And this is what I think people find most empowering about the course, is that ancient astrology really helps to give you the rationale for everything so that you have the insight available to go off script. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're learning about a sign, Aries or Taurus or a Gemini, something like that. Ancient astrology won't just give you a list of the adjectives or keywords or descriptions of, say, a sign or a planet. It will give you an underlying philosophical explanation that then allows you to extrapolate from it the kinds of lists that you read in textbooks, which means you'll have an understanding of why everything on a list in a textbook is there in the first place. And you'll also have the insight and creativity available to add things to the list that are a part of your own unique intuition and contribution to astrology. And this is what ancient astrologers wanted students of astrology to learn: the why behind everything. So this is a class where, even though you're seeing things like planet signs, houses, dignities, aspects, and you're like, oh, I've already learned about those things. Not if you haven't studied Hellenistic astrology. I don't mean to sound condescending, but like, truly, most people's experience coming through this program is, wow, I had no idea all that I didn't know about the roots of everything that I've understood thus far about astrology. So it really is about digging into the philosophical core of why we do everything. And then you have greater intuitive and creative capacity as an astrological craftsman or craftswoman. So anyway, that's a brief explanation of why I think Hellenistic astrology is important. Not to mention that ancient astrology was really focused on our ability to accurately describe and predict things in the realm of karma, fate, and destiny, whereas modern astrology's hallmark and strength is psychological depth. And so when you put the two together in our program, which is why it's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, I think you have something really special. So on that note, you can see everything that we cover here. So there's a video with some of our alumni you can watch. Everything is there on the page. Now, there are 5 reasons that I want to touch on briefly before I tell you about your payment options and need-based tuition. These are 5 reasons to study astrology that, if you mark any of these boxes, especially if you mark several of them, then I think it's a good indication that you might be ideal for this program, might be an ideal fit. So the first one is, if you find that astrology has become a part of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spiritual practice, it is a part of how you lead an inner life, then there is nothing more empowering than deepening your connection to that language, because that puts you more in the driver's seat. It's always good to have astrologers that you rely on, teachers that you listen to, get a little objective perspective, especially when you're looking at your own chart through a reading. But there's really nothing more empowering than learning to speak the language at a deeper level for yourself. And if that calls to you, if you want to understand things and be able to speak more confidently and clearly about this sacred language that you love, and this is a great reason to take a structured program. Number 2 is that you feel called to read charts for people. And look, not everyone who takes our programs is on a professional track, but we have 4 years worth of professional training programs at Nightlight that will prepare you to read professionally for others, if that's the path that you're on. Maybe you don't even know if you're on that path. That's fine too. Many people take our programs just for the sake of their own personal enrichment, and again, to be kind of more in the driver's seat with respect to your astrological journey. You have more of an understanding. You can be more confident in reading symbols and experiencing transits with your own understanding that you've cultivated. But sometimes people want to read for other people. This will definitely set you up to do that. We have a certification track where you can take exams at the end of every year. They're optional. You don't have to if you're not on that level of interest. Number 3, you have done a lot of self-study. You've heard things from here and there, but you're looking to bring it all together. It is overwhelming to study astrology on your own. So if you want organization, structure, and coherence, what you're getting in this program is going on 15 years of training astrologers, 15 years of developing curriculum that is has in mind the overwhelm that many people experience. And this program is structured year 1, year 2, year 3, however far you want to go with our curriculum, to give you an organized, structured, coherent way of understanding the history and language of astrology from both ancient times to modern times, in all of the vastness that the field includes. And also, as we go, we want to give you the confidence that you are a part now of an astrological lineage. Astrology has always been practitioner based. Coming through Nightlight, you are going to have the opportunity to feel aligned with a lineage. If you like my work, if you feel aligned with the way I speak the language, then this might be a good reason to come study with us. Now, if you're seeking the why behind things, if you're like, yeah, that's interesting, I get it, I understand, but why? Why signs? What's the difference between a sign and a house? Why do they ever come up with a sign and a house? What's the distinction philosophically? Why does Mars represent this? Why does Mars in this sign represent that? If you are someone who feels empowered by understanding the why behind things, you are going to love this program, because that's how I am as a teacher. That's how I am as a person. And that's what this program is really all about. Number 5, you are looking for astrological community. Look, I think Nightlight is unique in terms of the kind of warmth, acceptance, safety, and inclusiveness that our community includes intellectually, spiritually. We are really pride ourselves on being a peaceful kind of family. I'm a Cancer, right? So it's kind of a family-oriented environment. So anyway, I will end it there. If you check any of those boxes, you may want to consider studying with us. Now, I'm going to take you over to 2 things. I want to show you the dashboard. So here is the Thinkific page. You're going to join this, and on your dashboard, you're going to find any courses that you've enrolled in at Nightlight, and there are many, so you may end up in being involved in multiple courses, and you'll find that they're all there on your dashboard. Click on one of them, and it will take you in. You're going to find that on the left-hand side, there's orientation instructions, course information, class links, and calendar, all the technical stuff you need to know when you join the course. And then you're going to find that there's, when you go through the lessons, that the lesson includes the video, the audio, the slides, the transcripts, the Q&A box text if you couldn't make it live and see what people were talking about, flashcards, homework, a bonus PDF with all sorts of additional recommended reading, bonus videos, additional video links for bonus material. So every single time that you want to visit something within the course, everything is nicely organized. So you can see here, I'm going to pause this before it starts going, but you can embed the video right there. It's embedded and you can watch it. And then if you wanted to, you could also, right here, you could also download the video and watch it on your own device. And that's same for the audio as well. And then as you go, you'll see all of the lessons are laid out. The study sessions are also recorded if you can't make those live. So everything is nicely arranged on the website for you. And that makes it a course that if you wanted to take 3 years to accomplish, you could take 3 years to accomplish. If you want to take it for the sake of getting certified, you have the full year plus an additional year to take the exam. So, 2 years total that we give people if you're on a professional track. But most people complete the program in a year. And a lot of people, over 50% of our students, go on to our year 2 and then our year 3 and horary programs as well. Now, final thing I'm going to show you is right here. You're going to find, here is the enrollment options at the bottom of the first year course page. Again, this is at nightlightastrology.com, and you're going to click on the first year course, go to the bottom. The early bird payment saves you several $100s off the cost of the course. That's available till May 15th. Early bird installment plan saves you on the installment plan, regular cost of the course. That's also only available until May 15th. And then need-based tuition. All of our programs include a need-based option where we give you a sliding scale and we say, you pick your monthly tuition number within this sliding scale, which is greatly reduced off the normal tuition price. That is for people who are on a fixed or limited income, receiving disabilities, single mom, whatever the case might be. We want to make sure that nobody's priced out of studying astrology. So you don't have to feel any shame. If that is you, if you need help, if you want to take this, but you need to make it work within a tight budget, we get it. Times are tough right now. We don't think people should be priced out of studying a sacred subject like astrology. So we've been offering need-based pricing for 15 years. Nightlight is a donation-based school. It started that way. We have a sliding scale, so it's kind of like donation. You get to choose your rate anyhow. So if that's something that will help you, please use it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it gave you a really deep and comprehensive introduction to what the course is all about and why you might find it exciting to come study with us starting at the end of June. So any questions you have about the program as you're visiting the course, email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We'll be glad to talk about anything that you have questions about. We are here and we have a wonderful staff of people at Nightlight who will be a part of your learning experience and are all glad to help you. All right, that's it. We'll see you again later. Bye.